Hey everybody, so today Dynamo 2.13 was released. What we're going to do today is jump straight into Dynamo. We're going to play around in the Dynamo sandbox so that we can actually check this out. I haven't looked into this that much. I just downloaded it, so we're just going to take a raw look at the tool, and we're actually going to try to build a script and just see how easy that is, see if there's any barriers that have been introduced or efficiencies that have been introduced to speed things up. So we'll see how that is. If you want to get the 2.13 release, just check out Dynamo Builds. You can go up here, 2.13, and download this. So this is a pretty big release. There's a lot of UI enhancements, as you can see in the image up here. I'll post this article below if you want to check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. I actually haven't read through all of this yet. Like I said, I just downloaded this, so we're really going to take a raw look at this and see, how good it is. See if there's things that that we'll have to change, and workflow wise. And what I mean by that is, like, if you've been using Dynamo for a while, these UI changes could slow things down for a minute while you kind of get used to the changes. But we'll see how big of a difference that is, or how much we'll have to do that. I'm sure there's a lot of thought in all of this, and so it'll be interesting to dive into it. So the script that we're going to build is going to be just geometry stuff. So John Edmark, and I recommend checking out Math Art. That's a really cool book, and I've been trying to just get ideas on like what to do in Dynamo, and I've been reading that book to figure that out. So in there, John Edmark is mentioned for I think it's Helicone, and it's really cool as well. Just to check this, check this site out because this thing is really cool. There's some cool functionality behind this, and we won't build that much, but we will at least get the geometry there and actually create it, and then maybe figure out how this actually operates, and then if we could build that into Dynamo in the future. But for our big focus, we're just going to create the geometry and just try to represent what we see here in this image. But I'll post this as well if you want to check out this website. Super cool, and the way that I learned about this was from the book Math Art. And I think the author for that is Stephen Ornez. So check that out. Pretty cool book if you're interested in that kind of thing. So let's jump over into Dynamo and try to build that. I don't have any dimensions, so a lot of this is just going to be rough, but there's a combination of building this script and then also figuring out how this UI works in Dynamo. I think this is a fun way to try to approach it. I recommend trying to do the same thing. This script will be available below for you to download on my GitHub, and the GitHub should take you directly to it. All right, so I guess the first thing is we can come up here and search, and we'll want a cylinder. So we'll just click on that. It goes here. This is pretty cool. It is new, so it's I know there's things that I'm gonna have to get used to, especially being using Dynamo for some time without like huge dramatic UI changes. There's things I'm gonna have to get used to, just how it works. I'm a big fan of Dynamo. Check that out. I think their UI is really cool. I think there's things that it could be improved as well. But a lot of the things that are a lot of reasons why I like that platform. And it's not the same. It doesn't do the same as Dynamo. But just the way the UI was, were a lot of things in there are now happening in Dynamo. There's like the documentation stuff that can go with nodes. That was already, those things were available in Dynamo and other platforms like that. More interactive, or just visually appealing interactive nodes. Dynamo has that as well. So it's cool to see Dynamo really putting a focus on that and trying to improve that. So cylinder by point radius. So obviously we'll do points, and then So I wanted to see if the auto fill was, or the auto recommendation was there, and I'm sure you have to turn it on up here like you had to do in 2012, and those are previews. Let's see if we can turn the recommendation on. And like I said, I mean, I'm really trying to figure out this platform on the fly, just to show you guys kind of how I work. Okay, so that's on by default. And like right here, the documentation browser, super cool. I think this is awesome, having this ability, and you can also add your own documentation to nodes as well, which I think is incredibly powerful. So I just wanted to see what the buttons were. Cool. Okay. So double clicking. So let's close this, minimize that, and then boom. So there it is. So sorry for going through that, but I wanted to activate that, or at least figure out the workflow, because it was already activated. Because I think this is really powerful. A lot of times people don't know what nodes they're trying to do, and it's like in this case, I want to do a cylinder. Well, I know I want to do a cylinder. I can search that, and then I can find this particular node. But then, what are these other things? What's the start point? What do I have to put into a radius? And that's where this, I think, is really powerful for new people, but it can make even existing users more efficient. So endpoint, you can do another, and then for the radius. Also, another good tip, if you're watching this and you're new to Dynamo, if you hover over it, it will give you the value type, so the actual object type, or what you're actually passing into it. So in this case, it's a double, and its default is 1. The defaults for these are just points that are at 0, 0, 0. So here, let's click on that, and we'll do a number slider. And so this is the base of what we're trying to create. Now, let's change. We'll set this to automatic. Well, there's an error, so I haven't seen one of these yet, so let's actually look at this. So I do like the way, I think it looks, the UI looks much more modern, so I do love all the improvements so far. Nothing that limits my workflow. If anything, it makes it more efficient with the autocomplete, just the way that it works. I think the double click into it is really helpful. So this warning dialog, I think that's pretty helpful. So when you dismiss it, it's still an error. I know in some cases, like when you create it, like we'll have nodes that error, and that's okay. Oops, not the wrong button. Oh, so there it is right there. So there's our dismissed alerts. And so now we can see it again. That's cool. I wonder if it remembers that every time you run it, so that when somebody opens it and runs it, that they don't see it. At the same time, though, I guess that's what that number is. So when you do dismiss it, you can still see the number and understand that there is an error that's a part of this this node. So anyways, there's our cylinder. Let's just put 5. I don't know, that looks big, but we'll see. You know, we can flex any of that and kind of figure it out. So now we've got our top point right here, and so that's where we'll create the other part of it. And so that'll just be another cylinder. So we can copy all of this. We'll change the start point to there. Code block, I think, looks pretty slick. I think this whole improvement looks pretty cool. Let's do this. I don't know, 0.5. No, that doesn't look right. Sorry, not 0.1. No. What am I trying to do? Cool. Okay, so there's our second cylinder. All right, so let's create a group now. Create a group. Something I just want to test is, can we create can we embed groups within groups? I don't know. See, I thought I saw something like that. There might be, but I won't mess with it now. So there's our groups. I think those look pretty cool. We can just say that this is the base cylinder. So I'm not really big on groups. I think they're important. I think organizing your graph in a logical way and adding notes in there is important. But a lot of my graphs do not have groups. Now I do try to add groups in there, but like my personal graphs, I just don't. I won't. Oops. Now, on larger graphs, I will try to add groups just so that I can jump to certain areas and I know what's going on. Or if there's like I'll add groups to separate certain things, or notes to clarify, like this is the logic behind what's happening. But for a lot of times, I actually don't add groups. I do for things that if I'm sharing it with folks, I try to do it at least for that. So now let's try to create those little shapes up here that spin around. So just like these, we've created these separately. They're not work plane based. I think the next ones will have to be work plane based. Now, I don't know actually if this is true. I've tried to test it in the past, but I haven't had a chance to do it again. But in Grasshopper, if you use work plane and then you array in a work plane and then you create your so now you've got an array of work planes. You then create your geometry on that. That's more efficient than like arraying a bunch of geometry from a start. Like a start geometry. So I don't actually know if that's true. Like I would imagine that it does make sense to me in Grasshopper why that would happen. It would make sense also why that would be the case in Dynamo as well. With that said, I don't know if that's the case. But I like doing it. I think you have more control, and planes are pretty easy to manipulate. So if we need to change angles and stuff, that's pretty easy to do. So we'll do a point. Cool. Okay, so we'll just do. I'm gonna remove that, and then so to make this kind of parametric, what we'll do is get rid of that code block. We probably need one, but let's. So there's our base cylinder. There's the offset there, and then now what we'll do is have another code block and. Okay. And actually, I messed up here. This is what we should have. There. Now when we flex this, so if we wanted to change this to 5, everything will move out properly. All right, so 3, we'll leave it at that. I think that's a good start point for our first array. So now let's just do maybe like a range. So there's our start. And then our end is going to be something like that. What is this? 8. And then our steps might be we'll actually do so we'll change we'll take that last array off. Or sorry, not array, but we'll take that last plane up there on the top off. So start, there's our end. So we'll just do another code block. So in code blocks, I put X there, but sometimes I put descriptive information in there. I think in this case, not a big deal. Okay, cool. And then this is the like thickness of those and just how many of them. For now, we'll do 0.5, but we may need to change this. So we'll put this over here. Also, we'll do, let's do a slider for that as well. So, should be able to click that maybe. There you go. So there's the slider. We'll do 5 for that, and so I'm bad at making descriptions, but that's the offset for these from the base, which we can add. So before it would have the yellow renamed, and then you can see here that little blue dot indicates that it's renamed. So I actually like that a lot better. Alright, so now we've got our base, we have our array. Now we need to create our geometry. So we'll do like a surface maybe. Okay, so I don't know if there's just an error here, but you can see there that like these are the action items, or the actual functions that create it, and then like these, and then these other ones that modify it. But it doesn't show. You can see there, it doesn't show the symbol, which down here you can see. I don't know, small thing. I'm sure there's just something going on there. Anyways, let's see what we can do. So we could do by patch. Let's we don't want a poly surface. We want a surface. So I guess it's our curves. Alright, so I think this is what we want. So those will be our curves. And then I'm thinking, well, actually, this is what we want. So you know what? Let's think about this. So we've got our plane. This would give us a portion of it, but then I'm thinking what we want to do is create the curves, and then what we do from there is extrude that and then join the geometry, and then that's what we create. But then all right, let's try this. This is what we're gonna do. we're going to create the curves just like what we had before. So we're going to pull those. We're going to pull those onto a plane. Then we're going to line, create a circle. All right, so center point, we'll do that. We'll do then our radius. So I just want to build out the shapes out here. So we'll do 0.5, and that can be changed. Okay, so we've got 3 cylinders because I think that's what it is. There's a cylinder on 2 sides, or circle on 2 sides, and then a circle in the middle. I don't know the dimensions of those. I think they're all the same. So we've got those 3, and now I think we'll do. We'll do our points. Okay, so oops, we name to make a list. Change the level on that. Or actually, no, that won't work because it's gonna do 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so there's our points. We might have to reorder that list, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay, we just gotta flip that last list. So, shoot, what is it? So just I know how to do this in Python pretty easily, but how do you? Let's just, you know what? Let's just go into list and see if there's something we can do. Well, you know what? Let's just do it in Python. I think that'll be easier. All right, so here's our list. We need a flattened one. So what we can do is just go in here. Just because of the way we generated our points. Now that should be pretty consistent, just the way that it, it creates it this way. We'll see how we can modify this to make it more parametric. But for now, because we may have to change the Python code, but for now, we'll jump into Python. This looks just the same. So the UI isn't any different. I'm fine with this UI. So now let's just do our data. It's going to be input 1, and then all we have to do is loop through, and we'll join the list. So our input is the list of list. So we'll do, actually, since we know what we need to grab, so we'll just grab the first list is fine. It goes boom, boom, and then so we need to flip that so it goes this point, then this point, and then this one. So we'll just grab that last list and flip it. So data we'll just index into it. So let me think, because now we'll index into it and we'll say data dot reversed. Actually, sorry, reverse. Actually, let's do. I think this. If we just do a. Oh, well, that's the issue there. So we've got a list of list. So that was my bad. All right, so now so we've got our data. So one should be index one should be this list here, which it looks like it didn't even flip it. Oh, all right. So this is pretty obvious. All right. Just make sure that this flipped. Okay, cool. Now we'll just turn the preview off of this. All right, there it is. That's what we need. Now we'll just flatten it here. So we'll say we'll do out equals list for I in data, and then that'll return, or actually let's change this because this is a list. So we'll say for I in L out dot append. So there's our flattened list. All of our points should be in order. Cool. Now all we have to do is plug that in. We should have our square. We'll save that. This is a weird way of going about it, but I'm just, thinking that we can join the geometry. Haven't tested it, and that's what these live working sessions are all about. Just kind of figuring it out. All right, now let's just do an extrusion. We'll do surface. Delete those to clean up some stuff. Actually, we'll turn off all these lines so we can actually see what the heck is going on. Okay, there's our surface. Now let's extrude that surface. I can never remember which one I need to use. I think it's this one. Because now we'll just have to do false. And then the thickness of these, oops, are going to be determined by this over here. So we've got our cylinders, we have our offsets, offset from base, and then so I don't think we want it like right on there. So we'll do x minus some little value or something. So wrong one, not that. We need, so before we create the surface, what we need to do is get that information onto the planes. So and we deleted that node. So let's do, it should be, so we need to do that curve that puts it on the surface or on the plane. Pretty cool, right? So there it is. There it is, all broken up in pieces. So we'll just need Well, no, that's not right. What we need to do is... I change the lacing around, do cross products. I think we needed the levels, but I actually don't think we do. Yeah. So there's all of our stuff. Now we can take this one here and then plug in our, actually this over here. Oh, it looks like we need to transpose this list. So and this is my bad. Another thing, we need to join up these curves. Ooh, I think those are too thick. Let's see if we can go over. So this is the actual geometry thickness, so we'll do, I don't know. Oops, actually we need to go. Ooh, I do not like that. So that looks right from what I've seen. All right. Now So let's move the geometry before. The directions, we'll do a vector. Well, actually, let's do I like that right click, but sometimes it's just kind of annoying, and that's not what we need. I need not, that's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a vector by 2 points. So, not by a coordinate, but like, so we'll need this. So, the start would be the cylinder, which we have here, so that's the start. Oops, and that's not what we need. All right, so there's, that's our start point. Our center point is going to be, in this case, it's just going to be the 0, 0, but we'll do the, from the base cylinder, so that'll be our endpoint, that'll be our start point, that's our direction, so we're going to be, I think this should work. Let's see. All right, cool. There it is. There's our cool little thingy, or a what's it called? Helicone or Helicone. Now, if we go back here, we can look at the vector. Or sorry, not the vector, but here's our base and stuff, and then we create our planes right here. And then our normal, let's, there it is. There's our all right, so that's going to rotate it. That would be pretty useful for, like, you know, solar panels if we're trying to follow the sun. In this case, we simply just want to rotate it. to say like this should do it. So we've got you know what? Let's like the let's not do that. Well, there may be some way of doing that, and I'm losing it right now. I don't know, but I know what we can do is rotate all of our different surfaces, our solids. So this, I'm going to say that's the origin, yep, and then we'll do another vector, coordinates, plug that in here. Oh no. Okay. Cool, there's our rotation for those. All right, there it is. All right, so it doesn't function the way that you would see it in John and Mark's, or like the actual thing. It's like a what is a kinetic sculpture. So it there's certain mechanics that I'm not fully aware of on how it works, but those are all things that we could potentially build into this script. So I still need to figure out that. I think this was a cool way though to mess around with the UI and just see how Dynamo's improved. I can say that I love this new UI. This is really cool. There was nothing that held me back. I know there's some little bugs in here and there in it, not a big deal. But overall, I think this thing it's pretty awesome. I love the double click. I think before it was like Alt or something, and like half the time it didn't work, or at least I had trouble with it. And I'm sure the recommendations over time are going to get better. The stuff that I used it for though mostly were these. I mean, these are the ones that I just hate doing. Right clicking, doing number slider, and then placing it. So a lot of times I will just default put a code block and then put something in it. But being able to do this, I mean, double click and then grab it you know, we didn't try it on stuff like this, but you know, over time, because I've tried it in the past, and the recommendations were very dependent on the things that you were trying to do, and if it was something weird with surfaces or geometry, it would sometimes recommend strange stuff. So, and then custom nodes, I think it makes recommendations for those as well, and those may be on or those may be a little bit more off depending on like the input type that they list in those custom nodes. So, but I mean, over time that thing should improve and get better, and it's also dependent on how people develop their custom stuff. But overall, I think this UI is pretty sick. I can't say anything wrong with it. I don't think it held me up developing this script. I think I went through it pretty quick. If anything, I went through it quicker because of just the simplicity of it. I like the idea. I like the simplistic way of notifying how nodes are a bit different. Like when you rename it, it's just the blue dot or the errors. You can suppress them if you want, which I'll have to test to see if that like stays in there and it knows to suppress it. Because when I send scripts to people and errors in certain areas, I know that those errors are going to happen. But that's fine. The script still functions, but then it stops them, and they dig into it to try to figure out. But you know, adding a note sometimes is helpful, but it still stops them. So I think that's kind of cool if we can suppress it. Documentation and all that, I think that's pretty slick. I posted on that on my YouTube channel a while back. And looking at that, so that's pretty cool, I think. So overall, I think there's a ton of cool things in here. Definitely worth checking out. Again, all the links will be below, so you can read and look at this stuff. This script will be below as well for you to use. So anyways, that's all I got for today. Thanks for hanging on and watching this, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.